from here because we don't want to park there for too long.
Right.
You know, we're talking about another purpose of sex, which is of unity. And again, we go back to Genesis 2:24. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are what? United, like the airlines.
United Airlines.
I mean, and obviously we don't mean physically united. Not like we just merge together and become this one nebulous being, right? Mm-hmm. But we unified in one spirit, unified in one mind, unified in one purpose, unified in one vision, unified in one mission, unified in one church, and the list goes on, and the list goes on, and the list goes on. All right, you can keep going for days, but I don't want to belabor the point. All right. Just want to move a little quickly here, so I'm not going to park out there. But some of you might say, but doesn't the Bible allow polygamy, right? Didn't Solomon have over 700 wives and
1,000 total?
1,000 total,
Yikes.
which that we know of, that was documented, right?
Right.
You know, and so, but here's the thing, right? So before I even get into this, here's the thing, you know, I'll just answer right off the bat. No. Right?
Yeah.
You know, like
Christ clarifies that.
God clarifies that. The word clarifies that. Like, no, it's not. This is not what God has intended.
Right.
Right. And in this particular case that people bring up all the time, King Solomon, elderly wives, blah, 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 right? So let's go to scripture and data. 1 Kings 11:4-8. In Solomon's old age, they turned his heart, and by they mean his wives.
Them wives.
Turned his heart to worship other gods instead of being completely faithful to the Lord, his God, as his father David has been, because David is recorded as or known as a man after God's heart.
Absolutely. Right? Again, real quick. And this can also apply to, from a woman's perspective too. Having multiple men can lead you into this, and women have had multiple husbands in history as well.
Yes.
So we're not beating up on women here with this text.
Yep. And so Solomon worshiped Ashtoreth. I always mispronounce that, but the goddess of the sudden. I should have practiced this beforehand. you read
Sidonians.
There. Sidonian. There you go. Lexicon over here. But the word that goddess Ashtoreth really means star or Astarte. It's the female deity of the Phoenicians, worshipped in war and fertility, also known as Ishtar, which is where the term Easter comes from, and we'll get into that later. Right. But I just want to clarify some of the things. And Molech, the detestable god of the Amorites, and Molech equals king. That's what it means, right? It means king. And also, not just that, but, to worship Moloch meant that you had to sacrifice infants.
Yes.
You had to sacrifice babies.
That's true.
So when you look at the scripture, they worshipped fertility and they sacrificed babies. Mm-hmm. So make babies and then sacrifice them.
Absolutely.
That's pretty nasty.
I don't think we when we read that text, we don't really understand the gravity. Even myself, you just think, he was worshiping other gods. He maybe was bowing down his knee or praying to them. No, it goes in depth. He's sacrificing babies, and ain't no telling what else he was dabbling in. And I think there's an importance here, because you'll have people who argue and say, well, you can have problems in the family with just one wife. But yeah, scripture is highlighting the fact that him having so many wives and the sin associated with having all of these wives. We see that also with David and the situations he had within his family because he had multiple wives, how one child was feeling this way. There was a rape going on in his family. He's being ran out of the kingdom. We look at Abraham. He had multiple wives. His wife told him to take Hagar after God said he would have a child with Sarah. And then there ends up being conflict in his family. Then he has to send his wife away and his son away. And so if I'm not mistaken, the first recorded, the first time you see a man with multiple wives in the Bible, there's murder involved. He ends up killing a man or two, I believe, because they were trying to attack him or something like that. But the Bible doesn't miss words. And Christ, he comes and clarifies the fact that we should have one wife. And that was the purpose in the beginning. Since we have been talking about the purposes in the beginning and dealing with Genesis, it says a man leaves his father and mother and cleaves to his wife. No, wife.
Singular.
Yes.
So Solomon goes on to do evil in the sight of the Lord. He refused to follow the Lord completely, as his father David had did. Mm-hmm. He also goes on to the Mountain of Olives, east of Jerusalem, to build a pagan shrine for Chemosh, the detestable god of Moab. Now, Chemosh means subduer, and it is also the deity of the Moabites. And the Amorites also identify with Baal Peor, Beelzebub, also pronounced as Beelzebub, Mars and Saturn. And there's a reason why I'm going through all this, right?
Right.
I'm trying to paint the picture, right? When people are making these arguments about multiple wives and stuff like that, and what you can be potentially bringing in to your marriage, into your life,
absolutely,
into your family's lives with all this stuff, and it's kind of baggage that you really don't need, and then the God never intended for you to have in the first place, right?
Absolutely.
So Chemosh, subduer, also, like, I think of it like a group of God, like a group of gods that, when you say Chemosh, it's not just one God, it's like several gods. Anyway, that's where the text reads, right? Or the definition reads. Baal Peor, which also means Lord of the Gap. He's a deity worship with licentiousness, is what the text says. And we look up licentiousness, that is promiscuous or unprincipled in sexual matters, aka orgy.
Yes.
Right? And then Beelzebub, which is Lord of the Fly, which is very interesting to me because I'm like, wow, Lord of the Fly is actually in the Bible. Interesting. But not too sure what to interpret from that. But anyways, flies are nasty. I hate flies. If you like flies, kudos to you. But yeah, so the way the text reads is that on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem, even he built a pagan shrine for Chemosh, the detestable god of Moab, and another for Molech. I already described Molech. He's child worshiper, child sacrifice, and detestable god of the Amorites. So what's going on in here is these people are having orgies, having babies, and then sacrificing them.
Yes.
That's what's going on with all these wives.
Absolutely.
That's disgusting.
Yes, it's doubling down on the wickedness of having these multiple wives. And also, too, something else that had come to my mind was 1 Corinthians, and when it says, Paul said, I wish that all were like myself, and being single and devoted to the Lord. He says, when you get married, you will have worldly troubles. And we had talked about that in a couple of episodes back.
At length.
It's hard enough having one, and trying to please, as the text says, trying to please your spouse, but at the same time trying to serve the Lord. It's hard enough for one person to grow and to love them and understand them. Imagine having multiple wives. You're shortchanging somebody. You're failing somewhere. So
you can't juggle all those balls. You can't spin all those plates. Something's gonna fall and crash. And you want to minimize the amount of stuff you're juggling so that way you don't crash. It's like, I'm gonna butcher this illustration, but it's kind of like when someone said that to me a long time ago, that it was like you're juggling all these balls, all these in life. Some of them are rubber balls, like your job, for instance, right? You may drop your job, but that bounces back, right? Or some of them might be your hobbies, right? Like where I stand right now, it's a hobby because we're not making money. So, this might fall off the radar for a little bit and it'll bounce back, right? Lord willing. And there are other things that are like glass, that are like, your Christmas ornaments that are glass, and it's a one of a kind thing. And your family is like that, and you're juggling this glass orb along with rubber balls, and if you drop that orb, that shatters. And and it's hard. Like, I want to see you try dare try to put a Christmas ornament back together from being shattered. It's no easy task.
Right.
You're never going to find all the little pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what you don't want to do. You don't want to be having all these things juggling together. So does the Bible allow for polygamy? No, of course not. Does not. Yeah.
And one more thing, I know we on this point, but I think this is an important principle with just the Bible and script in general. Just because you see it in the Bible does not mean that God co-signs it or he condones it.
Yes. Context is king.
Context is king. Just because you see something happening in the Bible, whether it be rape, whether it be murder, multiple wives, that does not mean, oh, God, he likes that. You know, God, he didn't say anything about it, so I guess it's okay. It's permissible. No. No.
Yes. Okay. You have to be able to have some level of discernment to read the scripture and know that, okay, cool, right here I'm looking at a historical record, or okay, cool, over here I'm looking at a poem and this is poetry. Oh, okay, here I'm looking at eyewitness accounts of what happened, right? Or over here, this is a letter to the church and it's more instructional, it's more doctrinal. And this is what I should take away and stuff like that. So you definitely want to be cognizant of the type of text that you're reading.
Absolutely.
Well, with that being said, that's really our last topic, or last point on this topic on the origins of sex. That is. So we got more coming for you guys. I'm going to unpack some more stuff here. We got the end of it. We talked a little bit about sexual perversion, and the next episode in the series goes more in depth about that. So stay tuned. Also, again, we love you guys. We care about you guys. We're here to listen. Please hit us up on, the Twitter, on the comment section. Click the link. Click subscribe. We're on podcasts everywhere. And again, if you like what you hear, just continue rocking with us.
Yep. More good information coming your way. Until next time, we love you all.
Until next time, peace out.